real answer is there is no rapture. There is none. That's the real answer. The reason that that doctrine got put together happened in 1830 by an Irishman, John Nelson Darvey. He had nothing better to do to become famous, to make a lot of money, other than to rearrange and misinterpret Scripture. And it became something popular. I mean, why wouldn't it be? Wouldn't it be wonderful if I could tell you without question that before they set off an EMP bomb, or before they hit us with a long-range missile with a nuclear warhead, that we're raptured out, everybody in this room, we're gone, all of a sudden, the moment, we're in the presence of God, and we didn't have to die, that'd be pretty popular. But that's not the way it works. John Nelson Darvey put this together, and there were two groups that jumped on it big time. Baptists and Pentecostals. If you're a Baptist, I appreciate you. If you're Pentecostal, I appreciate you. I hope you appreciate me. But the truth is, those two groups grabbed that denomination. Yes.
I have a bunch of different Bible versions, and I was never able to find the word rapture in any of them.
No, they're not. It's not there. It's not there. But they talk about catching away and that sort of thing. But all out of context. The John Nelson Darvey and the invention of the rapture. It's all online, but it's also in the history books. What Christians believed before the rapture, before that theory came up. For the first 18 centuries of Christianity, believers expected suffering, persecution, and endurance. The church fathers didn't teach a pre-tribulation evacuation. Medieval theologians didn't preach it. The reformers didn't assume it. Christians believed Christ would return and that faithfulness might cost him something in the meantime. Then suddenly in the 1800s, the rapture appears, fully formed, confident, detailed, not recovered from the past, but introduced as if it had always been there. That alone should make people nervous. John Nelson Darvey was educated, but he was not theologically educated. He was not a part of any traditional or accountable Christian tradition. He studied law at Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland. Was briefly ordained in the Church of England, which, by the way, was just a stepchild of the Roman Catholics. You know, all the Church of England people were Catholics until Henry VIII decided he wanted to divorce Catherine of Aragon, a Spanish princess, and the Pope said no. He wanted to marry Anne Boleyn, a commoner. The Pope said, no, you can't do that. So Henry VIII said, okay, everybody in England that were Roman Catholics, we are now Church of England, and I'm the head of the church, now give me permission to divorce Catherine of Aragon and marry Anne Boleyn. So this guy is ordained briefly by the Church of England. He walked away from institutional Christianity altogether. He rejected church authority, distrusted tradition, and believed most Christians were hopelessly compromised. He helped bring that to pass. We have diagrams that you can get. Why the rapture spread in American Christianity. The rapture didn't spread because it was persuasive. It spread because it was soothing. Like comfort food. Remember that? Darvey offered anxious believers something irresistible. Certainty in chaos. Hang on, brother. He's going to split the eastern sky. They may have you tied to the stake, getting ready to light the fire, but hang on, brother. He's going to split the eastern sky. The guy go up in flames, believing in the rapture. Control and collapse. So this is popular now that when this whole world is collapsing around us, if you don't think it's collapsing, you haven't been following political news. It is collapsing. But don't worry, he's going to split the eastern sky. We'll be out of here. Escape without a cost. It won't cost you a thing. The ticket's free. You won't have to endure history's mess. You won't have to suffer alongside the world. You won't have to fix anything. Just watch the signs. Be ready to leave. Darvy himself was famously difficult. He fractured communities, declared opponents corrupt, and refused compromise. Disagreement wasn't dialogue, it was disobedience. Over time, that temperament hardened into a theological posture. Rapture theology doesn't tolerate ambiguity. It doesn't invite humility. It trains believers to equate certainty with faithfulness and doubt with betrayal. This is where doctrine becomes personality. Darvy's legacy. He isn't a cartoon villain, something more unsettling, a prototype. He shows what happens when fear, isolation, obsession with coherence, and destruction of community collide. If it hadn't been him, someone else would have done it eventually. But he did it first. The template stuff. Enough of that. I didn't become a non-believer in the rapture because of reading this. I've known for years there was no rapture. And it has not bothered me one iota. Not one iota. I had so many problems with the rapture. If I was a firm believer in the rapture, I'd probably never get on an airliner for fear that both pilots are Christian. But yet rapture, we go fly the plane.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd be gone too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be gone. But what if I'm not? What if I'm not a Christian? See, we want rapture. I understand that. But folks, the facts are there is no rapture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's borne out by all of Christianity for 1,800 years before John Darvey. He's taken scripture out of context. Matthew 24, totally out of context. Matthew 24 was about short range prophecy. 35 years later, what's going to happen? And it happened. It's already done. Right now we have people concerned about the third temple. How are the Jews going to build another temple? They're not. To build a temple on the Temple Mount that's controlled by the Muslims, you're going to have to get rid of like 2 billion Muslims in order to build a temple. I know we have them over there that are women making uniforms for the priests, and we have them looking for the red heifer that's spotless, the perfect red heifer. And all. I understand that, but the fact is, I believe Jesus. Jesus said, "I'm the temple."
Yes.
I'm the temple.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of scripture was, and you can tell me it translated wrong where Paul talks about, "I will keep you from that hour," and then he also speaks in another passage that will be caught up in the air.
Yeah, well, that's at his second coming. At his second coming. We will join Jesus in his second coming. Jesus doesn't come 3 times. He just comes twice. And protect us and take care of us in that hour. He demonstrated he can do that because the people were burned at the stake and they went out singing. I thought about that song. Fox's Book of Martyrs, whole book on martyrs. They died, they suffered, but they did so willingly, and in fact joyfully, glad to suffer for the Lord. So he will keep us from that hour. And we don't despair. That gives me great courage.
I pretty much knew this too, but it's back to Jesus again. That's all you got to think about is him, and however God does it is right. A man wrote a book 40 years ago called "The Day of the Lord is at Hand." John Barak, I think Barak or something, and he said all this, and he said when the second coming of Jesus, that's it. You want to call it a rapture, call it what you want. But his second coming is it, So he was basically the end, at the end then. And it all made sense, and he had scripture, and the Lord was saying, that's right. So there's so many people that think differently, I just said, well, Lord, whatever you do, you forgive us even if we're wrong, if we know you.
The problem is that people have been indoctrinated with false doctrine for a couple hundred years now, and almost 200 years. And my group, the clergy, have been responsible. We're the ones who are responsible. We did not tell the people the truth. We gave them false hope, and it's just not. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm glad to be able to tell you the truth. I have studied Scripture a long time. I want you all to understand that. I've been in the ministry. This is my 72nd year. I have worked among, with, and preached in churches of a variety of denominations. My theological education was excellent, and it continues to this day. I do not read Hebrew or Aramaic or Greek, but I have reference books that tell me what the word is in the Greek, what it is, and so forth. I hope you won't take lightly. I'm not tooting my horn. I'm telling you, I was a kid on the wrong side of the tracks in Moberly, Missouri. Parents had 5th grade educations. I was the last of 6 kids, the only one to graduate high school. I came from hard times that were really hard times. But by the grace of God, a church, back when churches were real churches, somebody invited me to Sunday school when I was 7 years old. And I went. I had no idea what Sunday school was. But I went and I found out. I kept going. Pretty soon, at age 13, I was teaching that class. At age 19 in that church, I was called to preach at age 9. At 19, I finally said yes. And then I went about paying the price. We have people who want to be ordained who never paid the price. There's a price to pay. 4 years of college is a price to pay, but that's not the end of it. After that, there's 3 years of graduate study. You're within 1 year of having as much formal education as medical doctors. Then I was stupid enough, I guess, to do 2 more years to earn a doctorate. I've been around the horn, and I will not be led astray by Darvy. And what about C.I. Schofield? Some people have a Schofield Bible. The Schofield Bible is what popularized Darvy's doctrine. But you don't read the story of Schofield. Schofield was in the Confederate Army. He deserted, joined the North, but he constantly lied, told people that he was a decorated hero in the Confederacy. He was a scoundrel, but he saw that if he would put together a Bible with footnotes and center columns and references, to make some money. Did he? Big time. But he used Darvy's teachings as his template for the Schofield Bible. That when some circles, if you come against the Schofield Bible, it's like you're coming against them. Like, how can people be divided? You know, if you want to use the Schofield Bible, use it, but I'm going to tell you the truth about it. It was put together by a scoundrel, and it's in the King James, which was not an accurate translation, and the footnotes taken right out of John Nelson Darvey's playbook. That's what you have. Thompson Chain Reference Bible. I have one of those. It's better, but it's still Darvy. Darvy hit hard with this doctrine of the dispensation. So I can tell you this. I'm convinced that we are close to the end of time as we know it. And it's going to happen whether you are a Christian or an agnostic or an atheist. The rain will fall on the just and the unjust. It's coming. Just yesterday, Larry Zeit sent me a YouTube thing about Apophis I talked about. Apophis is coming. And they bear out that the date I gave was Friday the 13th of April, 2029. Don't upset the apple cart. Giant asteroid. It's wicked. All the earthquakes that are happening by the hundreds daily. The ring of fire is being disturbed.